What I want to talk about now are the types of monologues, and this is what you're going to be doing in this class. Basically, in this class, you're going to do a modern drama, a modern comedy, a period comedy, and a period tragedy. I want you to create what's called a stretch piece. Now, let me go over each of these for you. At auditions like the Southeastern Theater Conference, you get 60 seconds to audition. That includes your name and your number when you begin, and then you repeat that name and number when you finish. Between your name and number, there's a transition into the piece. So the piece is probably 50 seconds long. The modern drama would be from a play from, say, the beginning of the 20th century through today. So it can be a contemporary piece or some like the early realistic pieces like Chekhov or Ibsen. The piece should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. In other words, it should build to some sort of climax. It should also have action in it. The character wants something. They're trying to get something. There's some strong objective that needs to be played. What you want to avoid with this are the monologues that are very descriptive. Sometimes in literature, you'll find pieces that are pretty, but there's nothing happening. The character's not really going after something. You know, if somebody comes out and they go, "Oh, I remember that day I was on the beach. The sand was white as snow. There was pink coral in the light blue water. And you and I sat and we watched fish as they swam around the coral. And we even saw a porpoise off in the distance." I mean, nothing's happening. It can be gorgeous. It can be lovely. But the character's not trying to do something. There has to be action. There has to be conflict. I want something, I'm going after it. Now, these auditions can come from plays, but do not pick plays that are popular. You do not want to do monologues that these directors have heard 1,000 times. Give you an example. I was at an audition once in North Carolina, and out of my group of 10, 3 people did the same monologue of Tom's from the Glass Menagerie. It's the "I'm a member of the Hogan gang, mother" speech. By the time the third one did it, directors started to groan. Don't let that happen to you. Try to find things that are somewhat obscure. If it's hot on Broadway, you probably don't want to do it. So sometimes finding one acts can help you do that because they don't get produced as often, or just looking at obscure plays, things that are not that popular. Take nothing off the internet. Actors are lazy. That's the first place they're going to go to find their monologues. Or they're going to go to books called Monologues That No One Has Seen. Do not use monologue books. It will get you into trouble because that's what all the other actors are going to do. That's how these monologues got in those books. Everybody's going to be doing them. You do some legwork. Go find some plays in the library. Skim through the play. You don't have to read the whole play. Read in the beginning, find out who the characters are, what their ages are. See if there's someone that fits your type. Then skim through looking for any long passages of that character. And that's where you're going to find some good monologues. Students often ask me to give them a monologue. Gee, you know, what should I do? Give me something. I don't like doing that. And here's the reason why. If you choose a monologue, it's got to be something that you relate to, not that I relate to. I know the pieces that I like. You find something that you like. If it touches you, if it emotionally, you feel it as you read the piece, you're touched emotionally, it's the right piece for you to do because you understand it. You'll be able to make that subtext clear to an audience. So choose a drama piece that fits your character type, that has action, character wants something, and that you relate to. Now, some people have picked monologues not from plays, and you can do that. Novels, short stories, journals can be really good. I've done a lot of work with period journals, especially one of my areas that I like to read a lot about is the Civil War. And you can go back and find journals, and there's some tremendously touching pieces in journals. And you can take from just about any period, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, World War II, the Great Depression. I mean, that's why Ken Burns is making such a great living. He goes back and he finds these touching, emotional pieces from different time periods and presents them as documentaries. And they're excellent and quite emotional. So you can find a monologue just about anywhere, just as long as the character wants something and they're going after it. I had a student that loved Anne Rice and said to me, you know, wish she could do a piece from Anne Rice. And I said, well, why not? I mean, her novels are written quite often in first person, and there were characters there that she was absolutely right for. And so she went back, re-looked at those novels, and she found audition pieces that fit her and that she could play really, really well. Be honest with yourself. Can I play this character? Is it my type? Also, I would say share the piece before you start really working on it with others. Sometimes a piece can be very personal and we get it, but it's not universal enough that if you did it for someone else, they would understand what's going on in the piece. Remember, this piece has to live on its own. If we need to know the play to understand the monologue, it's wrong. It's got to be its own little play, its own 50-second play. Make sure that by doing that, a person who knows nothing about the play or the novel or wherever you got the piece will understand what this character wants and what they're after. Now, the second piece is the modern comedy. Follows a lot of the same rules, except it has to be funny. You want it to be comical. Now, they don't want you to tell jokes. Don't get a joke book and tell a joke. That'll count against you, especially at the Southeastern Theater Conference. What they want is a piece where the character is going after something, they want something, they're going after it, but it's humorous. Sometimes, especially with comic pieces, people will resort to profanity. Try not to. I mean, you never know who you're going to offend. Most theater people don't care, but there are those out there who do. In my film class, my acting for the camera class, I talk about this, and if you're going to go to work, say, at Southeastern Theater Conference, you got to look at the companies that are going to be there. Most of the companies that you're auditioning for are summer theaters. at the Southeastern Theater Conference. Outdoor dramas, Shakespeare festivals, repertory companies. And then you have your full-time professional theaters like Barter Theater, which goes to that audition. Where are these theaters located, and who are their patrons? Just think about that. Most theaters are not located in big cities. Yes, there are the New York and LA and all that. There are theaters there. But a lot of professional theaters, regional theaters, and certainly summer theaters are in vacation places. Abington, Virginia has a theater there because a lot of people, a lot of tourists come to Abington, Virginia, come to this area for vacations. The Lost Colony has lasted at Manteo, North Carolina all these years because it is a great vacation resort. And every summer they have an audience who comes back again and again and again to see the Lost Colony being performed. Okay, what am I getting at? Even though these directors quite often are very liberal in how they look at language, how they look at clothes, how they look at lifestyle, they have to think as business people. They have to think about their patrons. And who goes to the theater? Most of the people who go to the theater tend to be more conservative because they have to have money. Think about that. This says something about when you go to an audition. I had a girl get really mad at me once because I said she should dye her hair before she went to the audition. She had recently dyed it light blue. I said, well, it looks great, but you're not going to be looked at by that director. The only way they'll see you is with blue hair, and they will not imagine you in any role that they're going to be casting. You have to think not as an actor now, but think as the producer thinks. Because now you're trying to get a job, you're trying to get work, trying to make a living. As you saw with my headshot earlier, I once had this huge afro. I actually had sideburns. I didn't show you that picture. I had sideburns that hung down and then hung and they blew in the wind. That went away when I started to try to get jobs. It had to. I had to get a little more conservative look going. And so piercings, tattoos that stand out, trendy hairstyles, be very, very careful. It's not fair. We shouldn't be judged by those things, but we are. You will be. So as you find that piece, what I'm getting back to, if it has profanity in it, cut it back. Some words you can use, some you can't. If it's absolutely necessary to make the joke work, okay. But maybe you can find a piece that doesn't have that. One of the things I like about the Restoration period, for example, is a lot of the comedy there is suggestive. It's very sexual. Almost everything in the plays are sexual, but it's suggested. It's very witty in how they talk about it, as opposed to being very descriptive and real. I hope that helps. Now, professional companies are going to want you to have in your audition pieces 2 period pieces, a tragedy and again a comedy. One of these pieces should be Shakespeare. And the reason is they want to hear if you can handle the language. Can you make what Shakespeare writes clear? Can you play it well? Again, you don't want to pick the Shakespearean plays that are real popular. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I mean, you don't want to do that one. But there are, in his 37 plays, many, many characters that have good speeches who are not the Romeo or the Juliet or the Hamlet or that guy in the Scottish play. Find a character that you can play, that you could play now, and work on that. These pieces can be a little longer. Instead of 1 minute in length, they can be 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes long. The reason being, usually with the period play, it takes a little longer to make what's happening in the scene clearer. So you get a little bit longer to work on this. If one of your pieces is Shakespeare and you don't want the other piece to be so, that's fine. There are a lot of great writers, and you can go back to the 1500s. You can even go back as far as some medieval plays. Certainly, you can go back to the ancient Greeks. They wrote some great tragedies, and also some funny comedies. So there's a wealth of material out there that you can go to besides Shakespeare. But one of your pieces should be, and for this class, one of them will be, if not both. Classical comedy is a little harder than classical tragedy, especially for women. And I hate to say this, Shakespeare did not write funny women's speeches. What he wrote for women tend to be situations. If we understand what's going on in the play, they're funny. But the women in his plays don't necessarily have funny speeches. One character that I can think of that's actually very funny, but is not in one of his comedies, but in one of his tragedies, is the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. Some of her speeches are hilarious, but again, it's from a tragedy. That doesn't mean, that's the point I'm trying to get to, is you don't have to take it from a comedy as long as the speech on its own is funny. That's all that matters. For you guys, especially older guys, the doorman in Shakespeare's Macbeth, he's hilarious. He's also dirty. We want to talk about something that's funny and also filthy. He is. But it's in a tragedy, and that's okay. You can take something from a tragedy that it happens to be funny and use that. But don't be afraid to search around. For women, if you want to find stuff that's really, really funny, look at Molière. Also look at a lot of your Restoration or your 18th century comedies. And guys too, you're going to find some very, very funny speeches that can stand on their own. The last piece that I want to talk about is what I call a stretch piece. The stretch piece is a chance for you to play a character that you're not right for. Maybe the character is older than you, maybe it's a different gender, maybe it's not your physical type. An example of this that I can give you is when I was out working just as an actor, one of the pieces that I liked to do was from Man of La Mancha. And I did a Don Quixote speech from Man of La Mancha. It was not right for me. In fact, I laughed. The director at the Nebraska, one of the directors of the Nebraska Theater Caravan, he was the artistic director of the Omaha Playhouse. His name was Charles Jones. And Charles, after I did my Man of La Mancha monologue for him, came up to me and he went, and this guy was from Georgia and he had a real funny voice. He says, and also Charles weighed close to 400 pounds. He was a great big guy. But he had a voice and he talked like this. And he was a very proper Southern gentleman out there in Nebraska. And he goes, Bob, Bob, can I speak to you a moment about your audition piece? That was a man of La Mancha, and you did Don Quixote? And I went, yes, sir. He says, well, Bob, you know you're not the right physical type for Don Quixote. He was tall and skinny and a lot older than you. And I went, yeah, but you know, I wanted to do that as a stretch piece to show you that I could do something that's not me. He said, well, that's great, Bob, but you should have done a piece more like you first before you did Don Quixote. It's kind of like me. When I got to the point where they said I needed to be 7'5" to match my weight, I gave up. Yeah, you have this stretch piece. It'll probably be used for your callback. In other words, when I audition at SETC or one of the major auditions, I will come out and I will do a different piece. If the company likes me, they're going to ask me to come back to see them later in the day, or that night, or the next day. The callback at these conventions quite often is held in the hotel room that the company's staying in. At that callback, they may ask you to repeat the audition piece that you did at the audition. They may just interview you. Or, and I find this to be more often than not, they will ask you to do something different. Because they've already seen this one piece. They've already seen the piece that you've done. Well, now you pull out your stretch piece. This will allow you to show a different side of you, to maybe make them see you differently. Maybe see something that you can't show them with your physical type. Now they can see you maybe playing something else. This is extremely important for repertory companies like Barter Theater, where they might want you to play a whole variety of different roles because they do a lot of different types of plays. It's also for the outdoor dramas that can be important too, where they have a lot of characters and they may want you to play 3, 4, 5 characters in the same play. Stretch piece is a minute long, just like the comedy, the modern comedy and the modern drama, but it is also a piece that has an action to it. The character wants something, they're going for it. But this character is not you. It's not your type. Find something that you've always dreamed of playing, something that you love, that you would just kill to play. Maybe they're too old, again, different gender, whatever keeps you from being able to do it now. And do that piece and do it to the best of your ability, okay? So for this class, again, you'll do a modern drama, a modern comedy, a period comedy, a period tragedy, and a stretch piece. Okay, we'll talk more about that later.